There's nothing more beautiful and powerful than someone who chooses to be themselves. It's Pride Month, time of the year for us to celebrate love, the freedom to be ourselves, and honoring our differences. It's with great pleasure that I, Swasti Dubey, on behalf of BITS Embryo and Anchor, welcome Mr. Keshav Suri to our talk session today. As a prominent figure in the field of hospitality industry and founder of the Keshav Suri Foundation, an NGO whose main motto is embrace, empower, and mainstream, and strive to work tirelessly for the betterment of society by pushing for more inclusivity. He brings a wealth of knowledge, experience, and passion to our discussion. Good afternoon, sir. It is a pleasure for us to have you today with us, and we're all looking forward to a great session with you. So, to start off, so you're an icon in the hospitality industry now. Can you please share with us your journey and what has inspired you to join the hospitality industry?
Hi, everyone. So thank you so much for having me and happy Pride Month to everybody. I hope everybody can hear me and see me properly. Technology always ends up becoming not my best friend. Uh, so I hope that's thing. Thank you for having me. Thank you for taking out time from your Sunday, and actually wanting to listen to me. I don't know if I'm really worthy of that kind of commitment, because I understand time is the most important thing that we can give. So thank you, and thank you to everybody that's logged in. So to answer your question, what inspired me to join the hospitality industry? Okay, so the honest truth is that I am a Nepo baby, and there is no other way of answering that. It's a family business. The name of the hotel group is the Lalit Suri Hospitality Group. Lalit Suri was my father. He passed away in 2006. Before that, we were tied up with Intercontinental and Holiday Inn. But after my father passed away, I have to say my brilliant mother decided to dedicate the entire group onto my father's name, because he's the one who started it. And so whilst I was, of course, studying law and business studies in the University of Warwick, then I did a master's at King's College London, and I did an LLM in SOAS, which is School of Oriental and African Studies. That is when my father actually passed away. And so I decided to finish my studies and come back to India and join the proverbial family business. And that's how I got into hospitality.
Well, that's very interesting to know. So, the Dalit Hospitality Group is renowned for its inclusivity.
Yeah.
Besides this, what other factors do you believe make the group unique while also maintaining industry standards?
So, of course, we're a very proud Indian hotel chain. We have been, in the business now for over 35 years, and we make sure that all the properties that we run, and we manage them ourselves. I think that hospitality sort of is entrenched in our DNA. And I firmly believe that India is actually going to be the center of excellence for hospitality for the entire world. Just by looking at the fact that our population is 1.4 billion people. Also, to be really honest, I've traveled the world, and I don't think that any other country cracks the code on hospitality the way India does. And I think that Indian hospitality is by far the best, and I firmly believe in that. We also have our own hospitality school, which is the Lalit Suri Hospitality School in Faridabad. And so we're really firmly believing in making sure that Indian hospitality, which is the deep root, it is basically the root of our business and the core of our business, becomes a sort of standard practice worldwide. Now, what makes our chain unique is that we have We have hotels in parts of India that I think we were the first to actually have hotels there. Well, I have to say that we go to offbeat destinations. We have a hotel in Khajuraho, which is where the UNESCO World Heritage Site is for the Kama Sutra temples. We have a hotel in Bekal, which is in the northern part of Kerala, which was completely untouched. A hotel in South Goa, which is a 100-acre property, which is on the border of Goa and Karnataka, again, which was completely sort of not imaginable. Now South Goa has become such a hot spot, but before that it was really untouched and nobody even wanted to venture there. And I think the other thing that sort of sets us apart is the fact that diversity, equity, and inclusion runs in our blood. It's a part of our DNA. And we've never shied away from having conversations in terms of inclusion of people with disabilities, the LGBTQI plus community, transgender community, acid attack warriors. And it's funny because you can say that, oh, you're a privileged sort of hospitality luxury chain, which believes, usually when you look at a five-star hotel, you enter a hotel and you're like, oh, it's already sort of exclusionary because it's associated with luxury. But I firmly believe that luxury has changed. And if we are to work in the larger aspects of society, then we need to have people and communities represented for, in particular, the communities that you want to represent. And that is why it was very important for me to have my community. I'm an openly out gay man, to be represented in the entire LGBTQ spectrum, to be represented in the from managerial positions to people that are running the organization, to the board, to the foot soldiers. Everybody in the company firmly believes in the stand of inclusion. And I think that sort of sets us maybe a little bit apart from the others.
So it's truly amazing. The growth when you look at the growth of the group is truly amazing, and it's incredible everything that you guys have done. So one more question. Your brainchild, Kitty Sue, the group's nightclub, recently marked 12 successful years in August 2023. That is as one of the longest, most inclusive nightclubs in the country. So how did this idea come about? Could you share your journey in establishing the nightclub and the challenges you faced during its inception?
Sure. Before I answer that question, of course, I want to wish everybody a happy International Pride Month, as we know that we're celebrating LGBTQI plus Pride. Okay, so Kirisu came about for actually a couple of reasons. One of the reasons was that I was studying in the UK. I came back. However, I did not find any overtly open queer spaces, safe spaces for the queer community, where the community could not just be with each other and find their own tribe of people, which is exceedingly important for us queer people because we get to choose our family, because a lot of times our families actually distance themselves from us. And as we know, with the same-sex marriage petitions that haven't gone through in the Supreme Court just yet, we're still sort of finding our own family instead of having the acceptance from our so-called blood family. And so I did not find any of those spaces back in 2011, or actually even in 2009 when I properly started working in our business. It was funny because at that time, the first decriminalization of Section 377 happened in 2009, and then by the Delhi High Court. And then in 2013, it was brought back in the Supreme Court because the judge was like, who are these gay people? Who are these lesbian people? It's too minuscule a minority for us to care about. But Kirisu opened in 2011. So there was a march towards inclusive spaces, but that included everybody, including the heterosexual community. So what I did with Kirisu was that I wanted to queer the pitch, where I wanted to have a queer nightclub, but I wanted it to be open for all. And that's why the space came about. It was I mean, what I used to call it, the gayest straight club the country had to offer. Kirisu as a character, I developed a character called Kirisu because I wanted Kirisu to live beyond the physical aspects of a nightclub. We all know nightclubs have a shelf life. They're not considered the most, spaces where it's considered privilege. It's considered, not the best place. And so I wanted to change the image of a nightclub. Had I done a drag, and if I do drag, which is such a brilliant art form, I would go by the name of Kirisu. And so a lot of the selfish purposes for my own self was why Kirisu was born, but it became so much bigger than me. It became a big sort of movement, pretty much, when it came to the congregation of a lot of queer and queer affirming people, especially after 2013. Because in 2014 onwards, we then really, when the criminalization, when the reading down of Section 377 happened, and then the reading up happened in 2013, then there was this big fire in all of us, especially the privileged queers, to make our spaces more queer inclusive and to actually get the message out there that the country is ready for this draconian colonial law to go. And that's when we really started amping up our efforts when it came to queer inclusion in the nightclub. And we had a drag artist in 2016 called Violet Chachki who came and performed, and 2,000 people turned up for that. And that's when I realized that the country is ready for the decriminalization. That led for me to file the petition, my personal petition in the Supreme Court. And then, of course, in 2018, the final decriminalization did happen. So all of that happened because of Kirisu. And I have to say that all of the policies of the Lalit, when it came to diversity, equity, and inclusion, when it came to Mediclaim insurance for same-sex partners, when it came to covering of Mediclaim of sexual reassignment surgeries for the transgender community, when it came to us working with acid attack warriors. We were the first nightclub to actually do a full fashion show with the acid attack warriors. When it came to working with people with different abilities, neurodivergence, all of that happened at the birth of Kirisu, to be honest. And now the Lalit Suri Hospitality Group globally is recognized as one of the most inclusive chains all over the world. And let's be honest, I'm a tiny little hotel chain. I'm not that big. But however, we're the only hotel chain to be accredited by IGLTA, which is International LGBTQ Association, and we're the only hotel chain to be sort of accredited by so many chains and be part of case studies, be it with BCG or be a part of a lot of the conversations with Stonewall UK and as well as in the India Workplace Equality Index. All of that happened because of Kirisu. Sorry, I don't know if I answered your question and I went into my own thing.
No, definitely.
All of it basically started at Kirisu and with our campaign called Pure Love. And I can see that my team member Akshay is somewhere on this chat, and I think he sent some information on the chat that gives you a little brief about all our Pure Love campaign, which sort of stemmed from Kirisu.
Sir, your vision is truly inspiring. And I really do think that if we all individually could even put a little part of your efforts into this advocacy, so I think it will be a very great opportunity for our society to grow. But continuing to the question Q&A sessions, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing the industry right now? And how is the Lalit Suri Group Hospitality addressing these challenges?
So if you're talking about the biggest challenge that the hospitality industry and travel and tourism faced and currently is facing was the pandemic. The pandemic really sort of pushed back the entire travel and tourism industry by almost 10 years. Whatever growth plans anybody were having, whatever forward thinking that we were going to go through, be it technology innovation, be it, making sort of massive changes when it came to being an asset light, structures and doing more management contracts and all of that. All of that got pushed back because of the pandemic. And, whilst the whole world suffered, no doubt about it, and people lost their lives, but the tourism industry, be it airlines, be it travel, be it hospitality, really suffered the most because it was the first to stop, right? When the world stopped, the first thing was that travel stopped, and it was the last to open up. And so we really sort of what we went through as an industry and what people are still, and so what happened. Only we know, firstly, the pain, and of course, I am lucky. We are lucky that we have such a beautiful team. I have the best team in the entire world that put their lives on hold so that we could get out of this. And, even though everything had shut, we were the only hotel chain that were, with their emergency services, worked in distributing all the food and rations that we had in each hotels, in particular to all their to all the communities that were not getting service. So be it the transgender community and the sex worker community, because that was even worse. So what we did was that we channelized all the negativity that we had thought that, oh my God, we don't even know if we're going to survive tomorrow, and did that in a way to basically make it better, because we were like, you know what? Even then, there's somebody much worse off than us. So let's not, just cry and be like poor little rich boy crying about himself. But that was the biggest challenge. What happened right after that is that travel and tourism came back in a big swing. So the ones who survived are now reaping the benefits of it. But still, there is such upheaval. So many people have left the industry. So many people don't want to work in hospitality anymore, don't want to work in airlines anymore. So many people, because of whatever happened and just the nightmare-like situation, so there is a lot of HR upheaval that's happened. And I think what we have to do really as an industry is we need to come together and, tell the world that it is a great career path. There is no other industry that teaches you the value of service, seva, as we keep saying. The value of seva comes from the hospitality industry. And there is a lot of benefits to be gotten there. And if you really want to truly humble yourself and, work with what is called risk management, and work with situation management, and learn how to handle situations, is the hospitality industry. And I think that we have our a sort of steady path, growth path, that needs to be gotten, because I think that, the value of maybe the industry in hospitality, sort of people have pushed to the back burner, but now are coming back and saying that, okay, no, that there is an importance of space, of importance of value. Listen, again, we're not saving the world, right? But it's one of the most interesting industries to really be able to reach out to the world. That's what you want.
So, like you mentioned, the COVID era. So, do you think after the quarantine period, there has been any recent innovations or trends in the industry that you find particularly exciting or promising?
I find that the the uh, the newer generation, I have to say, and what's lovely about the hospitality industry is that it's an intergenerational, multi-generational industry. So we've got, if I talk about my hotel chain, we've got, people like my mother who are 72 years old, and then I've got 19-year-old, trainees. And so we're having to deal with so many multi-layers of generation and conversations that have to be two ways, right? It can't just be one way. Everything can't be top down. It has to be a two-way conversation. I think what I'm finding the new trends is that, the newer generation, whilst they want instant service and they want instant gratification, they're also so conscious about where they want to put their money, right? They're so aware of how sustainable they want the practices to be. They're so aware about how inclusive companies need to be. They're so aware about how they want people that are from different gender identities, different sexualities, servicing them. They want to see them in the front. They don't want them to be hidden at the back. And that's something very proudly we do at the Lalit, is we put everybody at the front. But what I'm seeing, so much more awareness about all the practices, and now people are like, okay, this is where I'm conscious about where I want to spend, and I want to spend it with a company that is putting their money where their mouth is. I mean, in particular, I'm seeing so much of change when it comes to when it comes to people's acceptance, in particular for the neurodivergent community, in particular for people that are on the autism spectrum. I'm seeing so much of acceptance and love, and I've realized that if you do it from a place of love, you get that love in return. Um, I'm also seeing that people want more and more queer affirming but safe spaces. I don't think the generations of having exceedingly large sort of banquet venues and exceedingly large spaces where people can feel lost. I think that's sort of dying out a little bit, and now people want more and more tailor-made experiences. They want more and more sort of an experience. It's not like just about going and eating and coming back, and or going and sleeping and coming back. Now everybody wants more experience. They want it more personalized. Customers are getting conscious about what gender terms are being used. Are there correct binary terms being used? Are they being addressed correctly? I think that all is adding and making us in the hospitality industry be like, you know what, yes, that's actually what personalized service needs to be. And it also is validating a lot of the work that we were already doing at the Lalit.
Yeah, that's very amazing stuff. So you are a prominent advocate for LGBTQIA plus community, and we're involved in efforts to revoke Section 377. Can you shed light on the challenges faced by the LGBTQIA plus community? How do you think that decriminalization of Section 377 has impacted them?
So, I think that, I mean, I answered a little bit of this in a
Yeah,
little bit of my journey, but I think that the biggest thing that the LGBTQI plus community wants is, and that's the same for any marginalized community. That is the same for any community that has been constantly told that, they're not good enough, that they're fringe people, that they're not, not no longer criminals, but nothing beyond that. Um, is a right to live with dignity, is a right to equality, and it is the right for every other regular person, whatever rights they get, is what we want, right? And I
yeah,
think that whilst the country has come a long way, we've come along. This fight is not a fight that just happened last year or just happened in 2018. It's been there since 1999, when the first batch of petitions were put by NAS Foundation, and this fabulous person called Anjali Gopalan, and then a whole bunch of other advocates and NGOs like Humsafar Trust. All of them sort of have been working and fighting on it. The first decriminalization happened in 2009, then it got recriminalized. But then what happened was, it was an NGO that was sort of fighting for the case. After 2013 and 2014 is when the lawyers they came out. So the three lawyers that are in particular who are fighting for this, Menika Guruswamy, Dr. Menika Guruswamy, Arundhati Karchu, and Saurabh Kirpal, they first came out and they're like, okay, we're gay and lesbian lawyers, and we want to show to the Supreme Court that we exist. Then they went to individual petitioners. And that's how Navteej Singh Johar, Ritu Dalmia, Sunil Mehra, Aisha Kapoor, they all came on board. And Mr. Aman Nath, who's also from the hospitality industry. Ritu Dalmia is a fantastic chef. She's the world-renowned chef. And Mr. Aman Nath owns the Neemrana hotels. And then came me. And they basically, because they were of a certain age and they wanted somebody younger. What I have to say, when I filed my petition, firstly, because I had the strength and I saw what happened with Kirisu, and I saw with Violet Chachki, there were 2,000 people that turned up that were queer affirming and allies. So I was like, okay, now the country is ready for us to decriminalize. Then when we filed it, and then after me, there were IIT petitioners, 20 IIT petitioners, and then there were a whole bunch of petitioners. Finally, the Supreme Court said, enough. We've seen now, we understand there are enough gay and lesbian people, so now stop. And then, of course, as you know, in 2018, the judgment came out, the reading down of 377 happened, and it was a fabulous judgment in the Supreme Court. You had all the 5 judges who turned around and said that, this should have happened a long time ago, and we should be going on for further rights. However, that happened in 2018. Then we took a stab at trying to get same-sex marriage to happen. And that didn't happen, as everybody knows, because that also is on live law, and you can see it on YouTube. And that was not such a big win for us. It sort of woke us up and realized that the work is still pending. We have to really now work at lobbying with the legislature. We have to really work with lobbying the civil society. What we need to tell everybody, our allies, people like you, people that are on this call, that please come with us, work with us, and become our accomplices. Don't just be allies and put a rainbow or remember us just in June Pride Month. Remember us every day and live with this philosophy. If one of us is left behind, all of us are left behind. Now, the strange part, of course, all of this is that I'm specifically talking about lesbian, gay, bisexual. But the transgender community on the other side in India actually has much more rights on paper than the lesbian, gays, and bisexuals. The transgender community actually got their freedom in 2014 with the Nalsa judgment. That Nalsa judgment led to the Transgender Protection Bill in 2021, which was passed by the legislature. So in that aspect, the government in India recognizes the third gender. The courts in India recognize the third gender. What's happened with the trans community is that acceptance socially and acceptance in the corporate structure and acceptance in schools and institutions has been very, very, very low. So with the gays and lesbians and bisexuals, we can invisibilize ourselves. We can easily sort of fit into heteronormative, which we shouldn't, by the way, because the whole fight about this is not to be invisible. But for the trans community, it's difficult to invisibilize themselves. And therefore, for years, and again, thanks to the British, like 377, they sort of push the transgender community out of society, right? And so they had no option but to live on the fringes of society. And therefore, the only options they got at that time to survive was sex work and begging. And of course, in those situations, they got options of going into people's homes when there was a celebration, and that's it. So when the Nalsa judgment came, finally, wrongs of over 100, 200 years of the colonial era were being put right. Just like the wrongs of what happened with the LGBTQ community were being put right in the 377 case. Now what we need to do is really we need to work with the trans community, see how that became a grassroots level conversation. Us as LGBTQ people, we're stronger when it is LGBTQ plus people together, which is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, allies, accomplices, whatever you want to call them. And we then have to be together to be able to say that if one part of our intersection of the LGBTQ spectrum does not get rights, we all don't get rights, right? Nobody should be left behind. And I think that our mission in KSF, which is my foundation, which started in 2018, it's to embrace, empower, and mainstream the LGBTQI plus community. And we started with the It Gets Better India project, where we wanted to show LGBTQ heroes and people that just have survived, because what our community teaches everybody is resilience. That's how we've survived all these years worldwide and in India. And it was a project to show the world at large that, here are these people, life does get better, because suicide in marginalized communities is a big thing. And for years, when you are marginalized, and your thinking also becomes marginalized, right? And I think now our purpose is to get people out of the margins. It's the same thing with feminism, with women's liberation, with anything that has happened where you've been pushed. Remember, for years, women were not allowed to vote until they were, right? Similarly, gays were illegal until they weren't. And similarly, trans people did not exist until they existed. And our job is to make sure that we exist.
Sir, the journey has obviously been so beautiful, but how do you think we as society and individuals ourselves can be more inclusive towards the people of the LGBTQIA plus community?
So I think what we need to do is that we need to give empathy, not sympathy. And we need to, we need to remove demonization of any community. See, good, bad, ugly people exist in all parts of community. And LGBTQI community is a microcosm of a larger macrocosm, just of the world, right? Just like the hospitality industry is a microcosm of the larger world out there, right? Um, and anything that we do in terms of service. So we need to remember that there are all sorts of people in all sorts of spectrums living. We also need to normalize the conversation. Don't other it. Don't take it into that okay, we do it during June and that's it, or we have a friend of a friend who's gay and that's it, or that trans person who's begging on the road is so irritating and we should just ignore and that's it. No, that's not how it should be now. I think the conversations that we're having, we need to take it to our families. We need to take it to our grandparents, to our great grandparents. We need to take it to our kids. We need to make sure that just like how regular folk are, we're also regular folk. And when everybody sort of gets together and understands that it's just a fight for regularization, and I understand that that's so boring, right? The queer community is anything but boring. But I think till that doesn't happen, we need to keep bring it up in conversations, bring it up at our workspaces, bring it up in our colleges and universities. We at the Lalit have a team resource group called the Pure Love Resource Group, which is all our LGBTQ team that sort of in each of our hotels that sits, discusses with the general managers, with the HODs, and then it's brought up in our board meetings. Similarly, there must be student-led, like I'm talking to, a student-led organization within a university, within structures, within schools. They need to really have more of that so that conversations keep moving. It doesn't become a conversation only for 18 and above, because let's be honest, nowadays, social media technology has made the world a small place. The 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old kids, they know much more than we did. You kids are much more aware than I'm from a dinosaurs generation. So, you kids are so much more aware about what's going on. So rather than them just learning it in whatever way and possible on their own, it's best to have, student-led organizations where things can be discussed. I have to give it up to schools like Tagore International, for example. They do a Breaking Barriers Instagram page, and I request everybody to go follow it. And it's kids from 15 to 18-year-olds who've done this page in particular for LGBTQI inclusion. Step by step in Delhi, which and in Noida, they have the Seva group where they are working in particular a project called Rupantran, which is in particular working with the trans community. And and of course, Akshay is putting all of this on the chat. So if everybody is interested, they can go through it. And of course, there are many universities that are also doing this. But I think that if we have more of these conversations, have more of these groups, have more in education, have more, on content, have more of it existing, I think that would be the best way to take this movement forward. And again, going back to it not being, being sympathy, it being empathy, and it coming from a place of intent where you really want to feel for a community that is over and above your own. Sometimes, we have to go above ourselves. We have to check our ego at the door, and we have to realize that there are things bigger than us. I may be privileged, I may be a Nepo baby, but I also know that had I not done this, I would be a hypocrite sitting in the position that I'm in. Had I not made this a safe space for my community, our community, and then a larger community. So it's not just LGBTQI. I work so closely with our project Apna Hira, which is the neurodivergent community, so closely with so many other communities. And we also have our own scholarships, which is the Adityananda Scholarship at our hospitality school. But that's at a very small level. If the world started seeing what we do at the Lalit, it would be such a better place, right? We can't save everybody. We can't walk in everybody's shoes. But my request is, let's at least try.
Yeah. So that's very great information and advice for all of us to follow. And I do hope everybody who's listening to this live stream will do so in the future. So I think personally that the content that we consume on social media kind of affects the way we think. And our mainstream media and Bollywood often portray LGBTQIA plus community individuals negatively. So how have you used this issue and what steps can society take to change these perceptions?
So I think that we've come a long way for sure. Back in the 80s and 90s, when I was growing up, the homosexuals were depicted really badly, especially in Bollywood. They were the butt of all jokes. And then I remember when the movie Fire came out, what a big uproar it was, and people were burning cinemas and this and the other because they couldn't accept two women being sexually free and also having their own affair. And then after that, the trans community was so horrifyingly depicted, either as murderers or as, only rapists, and demonized so badly. But a lot has changed. A lot has changed, and a lot of it has changed since decriminalization, but even a little bit before that. There are TV shows. I please request everybody to watch this TV show called Rainbow Rishta on Amazon Prime, that depicts the LGBTQ community so beautifully, and our lives and our challenges and all the intersections of what, it is like for a lesbian couple, as opposed to a gay couple, as opposed to an intersex person's couple, as opposed to a trans couple, as opposed. So it's so beautifully depicted. And then there have been shows like Made in Heaven. There have been shows which was on, I think, Netflix, I'm not too sure, or Amazon Prime also. There have been a lot more positive. There's a TV show on Netflix called Mismatched. A lot of people in the writers' rooms in Bollywood and in the content creation rooms are now finally opening up with their own gender identities and their own sexuality. And so that has changed. And it's when it is important, when you have people that have lived these experiences who are writing this content. Now, pretty much every TV show that is coming out, OTT, of course, that is coming out is even when it's coming out from India, there is a gay character, there is a lesbian character written really beautifully, not caricatured, not demonized, not made fun of. But we still have a long way to go. We still don't have an openly queer Bollywood mainstream star, or we don't have an openly queer, thing. But that, I think, will change. I think that is going to change. I'm looking at the positives. I do feel that we are now getting a lot more trans representation. There are people like Trinetra who are become quite famous from Made in Heaven. There's Sushant Divgikar, my drag daughter, Rani Kohinoor. Another thing that I'm really proud of that Kitty So has done is mainstream drag and trans culture in such a big way, and has given birth to all of these really fabulous queer artists like Rani Kohinoor, like Lush Monsoon, who's on Rainbow Rishta, like so many others that are doing such incredible work in changing perceptions and minds of people. I have to say, mainstream media during Section 377 and the decriminalization in 2018 was exceedingly amazing and helpful and positive, and showed a lot of queerness in a very positive light. However, that, I don't know why it died out during the same-sex marriage conversation, and that sort of did not the movement was maybe not as powerful as it was for decriminalization, and that made us realize that we still have a long way to go. So at least we moved from the being the butt of the joke, from demonization, to now some fabulous stories where you have Rajkumar Rao and Ayushman Khurrana wanting to play playing queer characters, and there's Chandigarh Gaye Ashiki, and there is Badhai Do, and mainstream sort of Bollywood masala movies showing that, which is also great. But I think what needs to happen now more is more people having those lived experiences to be behind and in front of the camera, and more of us sort of telling our own stories. There are fabulous transgender writers like Ghazal Dhariwal, who wrote Ek Ladki Ko Dekha To Aisa Laga, and she wrote also Mismatched, and is now doing season 1, 2, and I think 3 or something of Mismatched. It's that it's become that popular, and but we need more ghazals, we need more Farazes, we need more honors, we need more people from our community and our stories to be able to write them till the time the larger mainstream catches up and then can beautifully write our stories too.
Sure, that's a very beautiful way to look at it. So there's still many individuals in our society that are afraid to come out due to societal pressure. So what is that specific message that you would like to share with?
So, I love this coming out, right? So why I want a world where everybody then has to come out. Why should heterosexuals also not come out? I also want to say, I want to hear a story where a kid says to the parents that I'm straight, and the parents say, "Oh, how disappointing. There must be something wrong with you. Oh no, how boring," right?
Yeah.
But I guess till that world, that utopia doesn't happen, then, we have to come out for ourselves. See, coming out is a very personal journey, and you cannot force anybody out of the closet. And you have to let everybody have their own journey. And this is one of the things that, people ask, companies ask. When we launched also our India Workplace Equality Index, in partnership with Stonewall and Pride Circle, it is a metric to actually identify LGBTQ inclusive companies in India. And we don't rank them like Stonewall. We basically give gold, platinum. It's a celebration. So in the beginning, now it's in its 3rd year, and it's become bigger and bigger. But in the beginning, a lot of companies would come to us and say, "Oh, no, we don't have any gay people in the organization. Or we don't have any lesbian people. We don't have any trans. We want, but we don't." And so my answer to them was, that's not the whole point of inclusion. What you need to do as a good company, a great place to work as per se, is to make sure that your policies are there, that if even a single person wants to come out, they know that, okay, we can, because this is a safe space, right? And so whether it is medical insurance, whether it is toilet usage, whether it is to have gender neutral toilets, whether it is to affirm pronouns, whether it is to cover same-sex couples in insurance, medical insurance, bank accounts, to cover SRS, it's just important to have that, to create that environment for when a person, if they're ready to come out, they can. The same thing that these companies are doing is what we need to do in society, what we need to do in educational in institutions, what we need to do in civil society, what we need to do with the legislature, is to be able to create a safe space so that if anybody wants to, they can. Again, it's such a personal journey. We don't know what layers people have to walk through. So for, let's say, lesbian women, already, they have the marginalization of being a woman. They have a marginalization of living in a very sort of patriarchal society. They have a marginalization, and then on top of that, to be lesbian, you have a lot of coming outs to do. For a trans person, there are a lot of coming outs to do. For a gay man, there are a lot of coming outs to do. The intersections of living in this society, be it caste-based discrimination, religious-based discrimination, and then to a further marginalization. So you have to let a person have their own journey. And therefore, what we have to do is to create macrochasms of safety. This is why, we need more queer people in positions of power. We need queer people in the legislature. We need queer people in the judiciary. Hopefully one day we'll have somebody like Saurabh being the first openly gay judge in the judiciary. We need to see those stories so that the kids down there can say, hi, that can be also me. And then the parents can also say, you know what, that could also be you. Because otherwise, conditioning, our parents came from a generation when they were like, oh, shadi kabhi nahi hogi, oh, bacche nahi honge, oh, this thing ye nahi hoga, oh, wo nahi hoga, oh, you'll be a loner, you'll be this. But when you see stories, like, for example, I'm married and my husband's French, and we've been married for 6 years, we've been together for 15 years, we live in India, I want the kids to be able to have that, to be able to aspire that there is a community that exists, that allows you to be who you want to be, and you can be successful, and you can also not be successful, because mediocrity also should be fine. Why shouldn't people be mediocre? People also exist, right? So, that's how I would say that, we reach a point where the Lalit's tagline becomes, we are heteronormative inclusive, that we include heterosexual people also. We allow you.
Maybe our society will be entirely in the closet so that nobody has to come out of it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Sir, what advice would you give to young aspirants aiming to succeed in the hospitality industry?
The advice I would give them is that, again, repeating of my earlier points on seva, and if you want to really know how to service society, you want to know how to deal with different personalities, you want to know how to deal with situations. See, running a hotel is like almost running a township. Anything can happen at any time. Anything can happen at any time. You can have great news, bad news, sad news at any time, and you got to be prepared to be in that sort of situation and mindset. It's a beautiful industry in that way, that a lot of times our customers don't really care about what we are going through, right? So if, let's say, we've had a lot of trauma, or we've had a big loss, or our parents have passed away, or somebody in the family has passed away, when you come to work, the customers really don't care about it. So you move on so quickly, right? And you're already don't have the time to sort of, be able to say that, okay, we need time to process it. This is where companies like ours believes in offering mental health and mental health counseling to all our team members, and free mental health counseling for everybody outside. So, but in that way, you're quick on your feet, you're giving a situation, you're handling a situation, and you are like how they show in TV shows, you're a problem solver. And I have to say that it's the beauty of our industry. It's a fantastic industry. It's a vibrant industry. It is an inclusive industry. It's a diverse industry. You deal with people. If you love people, if that's what you love, and you love being around people, be it your team members or people outside, then this is the industry for you. So come join us. If nothing else, join the Lalit.
Well, I hope that everybody who's aspiring to get into the industry was noting this down very diligently, because I don't think we're ever going to get a better advice than this.
Oh, no,
But
you're too kind.
well, something that is something, sir, I hope we can all follow in our lives. And now, truly, we would like to open the meet to some
Okay.
of our audience members so that anybody can raise their hands and ask the question. So if
Just a
anybody
request.
wants,
Just a
yeah.
request. Whosoever wanna ask, please raise your hand, switch on your camera, and I'll unmute and you can go on with the question.
Oh, wow, there's a lot of questions.
So a very happy afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
My name's Vidit, and my question to you would be: looking ahead, what are your hopes and goals for the future? For the future, both on a personal level and for the queer community in India as well.
So, looking ahead, I'm hoping that we actually do end up getting the equality. See, when it was the marriage petitions, when they were being put out there, it wasn't the marriage aspect that we were looking for. It was the bouquet of rights that were coming with marriage, right? The bouquet of rights, meaning insurance, meaning writing a will, for example, meaning, just to be able to have a joint bank account, to be able to have my partner named on my life insurance, to have, all of, so it was just to have acceptance, to also consider to us to be able to have families. See, as far as surrogacy is concerned, it's no longer an option because there is a surrogacy ban or it's very, very hard. Commercial surrogacy in any case has been banned. But adoption for men in the country is very, very, very hard. So we are not then considered. So my husband and I technically are not considered on paper a family, but I know that for a fact he is my family, and that I'm still looking at a very privileged, my woe is me sort of lens. But there are so many millions out there who I know want to be able to have what is just taken for granted by every regular folk, the rights to have that. So my hope is that is the future we go to, that we are at least able to say we're equal citizens of the country. And then, of course, I'd like to have queer people, like I said earlier, in legislature and judiciary, in all parts of, thriving in what makes a society, a moving forward society. My personal aspirations is to take the brand Lalit and make it reach every part of India. I'd really like to sort of, because I firmly believe in travel and tourism in India. I'm very proud of that. And I think that there is so much opportunity within the country itself, in so many parts of the country, that I really like to do that. I also want us to become a center of excellence when it comes to service, when it comes to product, when it comes to also creating all-rounded hospitality individuals through our hospitality school, which has the potential to have a lot more kids out there, and creating that empathetic world that I'm hoping that the hospitality industry shows the rest of the country how it's done, through that. So, because I know that we have the potential, we have the right, we can be bigger and better than the Lausannes, Les Roches, the Cornells, the bigwig hospitality industries. India can show the way, and I'm really gung-ho about that. So my personal goal is that, as far as the company is concerned. I don't know if I answered your question, but sorry.
Yes, so you definitely answered my question. Those are very high goals to achieve, and hope we reach there soon.
I hope so too. Yes. But we have to also be positive, and we also have to have a little bit of delusion, right? Otherwise, you can't make the world a better place if you were constantly realistic about things.
Ayush, you can go next.
Good afternoon, sir. I hope you're doing well.
I'm
Uh,
doing.
I'm Ash, and the question that I have is, sir, balancing business and advocacy for the queer community altogether must be very demanding. How do you prioritize your tasks and maintain your well-being amidst all of this conundrum?
Oh, that's so sweet of you. Thank you for asking how I'm doing amongst this conundrum. So first I'll give you my Miss Universe answer. Then I'll come to myself. So the Miss Universe answer, which is also the truth. I mean, it's not thing. I'm again lucky to have such a beautiful team that really puts their heart and soul into everything that they do. And I don't know, maybe there's something about me that they love, that they sort of follow me. I don't know if it is that. I don't know if it is the work that they do or the passion that they do. So be it at the Lalit Suri Hospitality Group or at the Keshav Suri Foundation, of which Akshay works in both. And him and my entire 3,500 plus people that work with us, I'm really lucky to have them. And so they are able to make my day so easy, where I can do all of that you're talking about. So I can do the advocacy, I can do the work, I can do that. I also am very lucky to have my mother as my boss and my three sisters there, because I firmly believe if women rule the world would be a much better place. I think we all could agree on that, right? And I lucked out with some brilliant feminine energy in my life. And that sort of feminine energy has got me to be here today to have this conversation in front of you, where you're being so kind about all the work that I do. So, but again, listen, I'm lucky. What struggles I had to go through, I went through, but I'm really reached this position that had I not had my beautiful team and my mom as my boss and Divya, Diksha, Shada as my sisters, to allow me to be this sort of fabulous queer person, I would not be here. How am I doing mentally? How I basically think? Well, I mean, like I said, I cope. I cope by having a great sense of humor, because I try and take life not too seriously. Because I think if we take life too seriously, it can really be inundating. I clearly have a Mother Teresa savior complex, so I'm trying to save the whole world, which is also the wrong complex to have. So please don't do that. And but yeah, I mean, I'm a strong advocate for mental health, and I'm a strong advocate for taking care of yourself mentally. There's nothing wrong with you. There is something wrong with the world's perception of you. The view of the world has to change. There's nothing wrong with you. And if you need mental health in the current climate where we live in the world, not just particularly to a country, in the world, with all that's going on, there would be something wrong with you if you didn't need mental help, right? So our reaction to that is, yes, we do need, but we got to take it sometimes with a pinch. It's easier said than done, but to take it always seriously is going to be very difficult. But yes, when you need mental health, when you need counseling, Akshay can put out. We've got fabulous counselors that we give out free for anybody and everybody from whatever community you may belong to. For anybody who's looking out. I also am working with the Mariwala Foundation, with the Karma Clinic. So I think these are people that you must do. I think conversation on mental health is most important. I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine for now. It's been a very busy month of June. And we did a beautiful Pride celebration yesterday with all our team, and so I'm fine right now. But thank you for
Happy to hear
asking.
that, sir. We'll have a last one question today. I hope, Amar, you
Okay.
can go next.
We,
I also feel that we should be able to get divorce equality, not just marriage equality. I also should be allowed to divorce and get alimony. That's where I am with my husband. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, kids. No.
okay. Sir, this very interaction with you is very inspiring. We have one more member
Okay.
from our team who has a question to ask. I'll forward the mic to Amar.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Amar.
So it was great to hear about Kitty Sue. So with now, like Kitty Sue has become a cultural icon in the nightlife scene. So how do you ensure like it stays relevant and continues to attract a diverse crowd like year after year?
So I think it's a great question, Amar. To stay
Thank you, sir.
relevant, to stay relevant, you have to really you have to be able to listen to your customers. You have to be able to also have a pulse on what they want, assuming that what you want to give them is what they will accept. The world has sort of changed, where yes, maybe industry leaders could basically show the path and say this is the way to do it, and then everybody sort of consumed it. Now that has changed. And so for us to stay relevant is to basically be able to understand where Gen Z and now Gen Alpha are going, because they're going to become our high spenders. And then where my generation or the millennials, and the older millennials, what are they wanting? And are they wanting smaller spaces, lesser noise as we're growing older? So I think for us to be able to adapt to what I would really like, Kirisu, is to have in one night people that are baby boomers, people that are older than that, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, all in one room. And to be all of them, to have different parts of Kirisu, being able to cater to them. And I know that's again utopia and it's a big ambition to have, but that's how I do it. To have a diverse and inclusive, nights is, well, the best way to do that is to actually work with communities and NGOs and as well as community leaders and artists. So Kirisu has brought a lot of artists and has given birth to a lot of artists. And I think art is really the biggest expression of freedom and biggest expression of oneself. There are so many of my drag artists who have not come out to their families, but they are on stage. You can't tell them otherwise, right? And I think that for us to be able to really stay relevant is to work with the current and older generational artists, keep giving them opportunities, keep giving them a stage, keep giving them, keep being able to let them flourish. And when you have an artist and when you have a performer enjoying themselves on stage, then all the customers around will enjoy themselves on stage. And listen, we know that diversity, equity, inclusion is a buzzword. We know ESG, environment and corporate governance, all of that. These are buzzwords that are now everybody wants to tick mark. Everybody wants to think. Well, what we should remember is, who were the ones who really put their money where their mouth is, who have kept it in their DNA. That will continue with Kirisu. And it can't just be intersections only for the LGBTQ community. We have to be able to let Kirisu be open to a wider spectrum of community people. It can't be a privileged space. It can't be just a space where you constantly only do events where you are only charging a certain price. I would be a hypocrite if I just did that and said that, oh, this is, thing. I want to work with what the beauty of society. I want to have tribal performers there. I want to have people from different communities be able to stand up on stage and perform within within the big structure of India, but also bring in artists from all over the world that also are not given that many opportunities. So we know the big artists and the big popular names, but I want to bring in the ones who have a niche. And I think that's what always will give Kirisu its edge, is the fact that we've always, had something that is slightly queer, that's something that is slightly different, that you won't find. You may find music that Kirisu plays in other places, but what you find at Kirisu, you won't find in other places. And I think that will continue till as long as Kirisu continues.
Well, I hope that answered Amar's question, but I do think
I hope so too.
But I do think that brings us to an end of this amazing session. Thank you, Suri sir, for joining us today and taking time out of your busy schedule to interact with us and share your valuable experience. We would definitely look forward to host you again in the future. And thank you to our entire audience for joining us. We hope to bring you many, much more sessions in the future. And I think till then, take care, everybody.
Take care. Thank you so much. Namaskar, everyone.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ayush. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to leave. Otherwise,
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Namaskar, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Namaskar, sir. Thank you so much.
Namaskar.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.